heart and deal with it straightforwardly that Christ must save them. But in your admonishing, use positive words. Use positive words. Sometimes we talk to our children as if when we were children we never made a mistake. That we never put our hand in the cookie jar, that we never broke the window. We're really liars, dads. We're really I just don't want them to make all my mistakes. Yeah, but you got to realize that they will make the mistakes. And yes, correct them. And yes, discipline them when they need to be disciplined. But have a loving and understanding heart that with your words are both negative and positive words. I've noticed sometimes my children beginning to sink in discouragement. Amy and I will talk about it. They for a couple of weeks, it looks like they're sinking lower and lower and lower. That's when a daddy, a hero daddy, needs to swoop in and be Mr. Word in due season. How good it is. That's the time when daddies need to put their arms around their sweetheart daughters, and when they need to grab a hold of their buddies and say, hey, I'm proud of you. And you're such a hard worker. I'm so proud that you're an honest child. I'm so proud of you that you're a compassionate daughter, that you care about other people. You just keep it up. You're doing exactly what the Lord told you to do. That is admonition as well as yelling at your children, as well as correcting them in a negative way. It's a consistent counseling practice that when you see a junior high or a senior high girl, this is counseling training that I have gotten, the other pastors have gotten. When you see a junior high or a senior high girl going to ungodly friendships to get approval from them and hanging around ungodly people or anyone that will give her approval, it is common counseling practice to realize that she is not getting the proper encouragement and approval and hugs from her daddy. Daddies, you learn from that. And it may be that when your daughter gets to be of certain age and you see her running to everywhere except the right, you may turn the finger back at yourself and say, have I given my daughter the encouragement and the love she needs? If she will not find it from you, she will find it somewhere. Admonish. Positive admonishing. Fathers, remember with rearing your children in this verse that admonition means both positive and negative. Praise, rewards, approval, encouragement, instruction, and negative words. Warning, rebuke, blame even, correction. These are all part of this word, and bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Consider we are to bring our children in the admonition, words that bend, of the Lord. Now, what's that mean, of the Lord? Right? I've talked a lot about words, using your words. But what about words of the Lord? What about, look at your verse. The last three words are not fluff. They're not put in there for junk. But bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. The bending words of the Lord. So what? Well, frankly, they are not our words. Okay, this is important to understand. They are the Lord's words that we are to use to bend our child. Our children really don't need a whole lot of what I like to give. When I was your age, I had hair. All right, here's one of my favorite ones. This flies around in my home. All right? Your grandma would never do that. Your grandma would never approve of that. Boy, that's admonition, buddy. When I was your age and your grandma would never do it. And this is going to bend the heart of my child. All right? You know, they really don't need as much of that as they really just need to know what God says. They really just need to know what God's heart is on the issue, not grandma's, and really not when I was your age. Because if they would really have been there, when I was their age, that would have been bad. Very, very bad. And you know it. They need God's words that will change their heart. And frankly, actually, do you really want them to be like grandma? I mean, that's a really honest question here. Do you really want them to be what the Lord wants? We need to bring them up in the admonition of the Lord. I think we need to validly ask ourselves sometimes, dads, if what we want for the future of our children is the same as what the Lord wants. Sometimes we just want them to turn out right for our own pride's sake. We really don't want them to be godly. We don't really want them to love Jesus. We don't really want them to walk with the Lord. What we really want them is to look right so people at church will say you have great kids. And really what we really want is for them just to say, you. Yeah, me. Look at me. Look at me. Look what I have done. Do you really want your children to be near the Lord, or is it really just about you? You're tired of being embarrassed. How many of you men, don't raise your hands, you even use that? You've embarrassed me again. What kind of pride is that? What kind of pride is that, daddies? I can't believe you did that in front of... It's all about you. You don't care about your child's heart. You just care about you, me. Wow, that's getting some pretty honest there. Some of you fathers are great at teaching your children to throw a ball, to understand mechanics and do their math and their whatever and ride a bike, whatever, and that's great interaction. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. But don't forget to give them a God worldview. I don't like the term Christian worldview because Christian almost means anything now. Don't forget to give them a God worldview. What do I mean by this? Well, it's in that verse, the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, the words that are the Lord's words. Help your child, daddies. Give them words that bend their heart from the perspective of what the Lord wants in this world. That is a God worldview in the midst of a society that is a God, little g, a God, no God. You realize the devil, his great thing that he is trying to do is just to totally take away God out of society, to secularize us, to humanize us, to the place where your children grow up never considering God. In fact, it's probably all right with the devil if it's not a negative view towards God, it's just no view towards God. A life without God. You need to combat that by the admonition of the Lord of giving your children a God view, that they would look out of their eyes everything that happens, everything around them, every program around them, every store around them, every label, every action, every activity, a God view. I don't mean cram religion down their throat. I mean help them to see through their eyes what God sees through His eyes. Now that's good. That's worth quoting. We must combat the no God worldview. You must paint a true God worldview. We need to speak the Lord's words to them. That is the admonition of the Lord, the words of the Lord. And I don't mean quote Bible verses and Christian cliches. I mean all the time give them God's instruction from His perspective. Listen to these four verses in Proverbs, really quick ones, but they all have something in common, and they all have something that's a given in them. You listen to it. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. The next one, 4:1, Proverbs 4:1. Hear ye children the instruction of a father, and attend to know wisdom. The next one, 13:1. A wise son heareth his father's instruction. Proverbs 15:5. A fool despiseth his father's instruction. All of these verses, there's one thing. Obviously, it's preaching to young people that you should not forsake the instruction of your father. But you know what the given is, daddies? The given is that the father instructs. I think we've come to a generation that the fathers have forgotten it's their responsibility to instruct their children in the ways of the Lord. Not mothers, not youth pastors, not Christian schools. Fathers instruct their children. In all of these verses in Proverbs, and all of them, 1:8, 4:1, 13:1, 15:5, it's talking about godly instruction. It's talking about spiritual things. All these verses are preaching to children to hear their father's biblical and moral instruction, but children cannot hear them, Daddy, unless you're giving them to them. That was very ugly, but you know what I mean. Unless you are giving your children biblical instruction, how can they obey them?